To unwinterize, you'll need to hook up your city water. So in this case, we actually use a inline RV water filter from Taste Pure. I think it's Camco. In any case, so we've got our water filter. This is our pressure regulator, and then obviously going into the city water connection. So make sure when you're flushing your system, you don't need to use the water filter, but when you're not, I always recommend one. And then really at that point, all you need to do is turn on the outside water, open up all of your faucets, and just run them until there's no more pink. Also, when you're flushing out your lines, don't forget to do the outside shower. Open that, because that's got antifreeze in it, so you want to make sure that is open and water is running through it. If you have a black tank flush, also make sure you flush this out with clean water. Again, don't use your freshwater line, because if it backs up, you don't want dirty water in your freshwater line. Just use a standard garden hose, hook it up to your black tank flush, and flush that out, because that'll also be full of pink antifreeze. One more thing when you're looking at your hot water heater from outside. So this is our hot water heater. We have both a gas and electric water heater, so we can run on either. Any hot water tank looks very similar to this. But you need to make sure that the drain plug, this is our drain plug, depending on the water heater, it might be metal with an anode rod in it. This is just a straight up cap. Make sure before you start filling your water tank that you have Teflon tape on your plug and that it's nice and tight. Also, make sure your water pressure valve is closed, otherwise water's just going to shoot out of there and make a mess. So before you start flushing your system, just double check all of that it's set up correctly. Next thing you need to do is find your hot water tank. In our old camper, our hot water tank was under our kitchen sink. In our new camper, it's randomly in a cabinet on the other side of the camper. You can kind of find it is figure out where the water coming into the camper is, and then maybe there's a cabinet, like in this case, it literally is a cabinet with the hot water tank in it. Most campers, I would hope, are more closer to the sink, but who knows. This was unwinterized when we bought it, knowing that right now, the way the valves are set up, we have cold water going in, hot water coming out. Now in the winter, when I winterize it, I will turn each of these valves the opposite direction, and that'll shut off the water in and out of the water tank, and it just, it'll just flush through this loop of water line. Basically how the antifreeze will get through the entire system and bypass the hot water tank. So check your hot water tank, check the valves, make sure the line going in is open. So again, in this case, the valve is aligned to the tank, so the water is coming up into the valve and going into the tank. Same thing here. Somewhere in your camper is a water pump that looks like this. The clear tubing, you stick it in a bottle of antifreeze and then it'll pump it into your system. But you can see the water valve there, it's going up and down. So basically it's closed off the clear tube and it's open to that white pipe. That goes into your freshwater tank. You need to make sure the valve is aligned so that water will pump out of the freshwater tank through the pump, and then you can see the blue pipe in the back that goes to your water system. So step one, find your water pump, make sure the valve is aligned so you don't end up pumping water or other stuff out all over your camper through that clear tubing. Now for your freshwater tank, there shouldn't be any antifreeze in your freshwater tank, but if you're going to use any freshwater, you need to sanitize your freshwater system. Somewhere on the outside of your camper, possibly inside as well, there will be your detail tags with your VIN number, but this is the one we're looking at. Somewhere on there, it probably won't give you the capacity of your water tanks, but it'll tell you how much a full load of water is. So in our case, 713 pounds of water at 8.3 pounds per gallon tells you how many gallons of fresh water your system can hold. For whatever reason, ours is an 80-gallon, basically two 40-gallon freshwater tanks. So I have a lot of sanitizing to do. Yours may only be a single 40-gallon tank. To sanitize your freshwater tank, always just use a quarter cup of bleach to every 15 gallons of fresh water. So a quarter cup of bleach to 15 gallons of water. You'll need a funnel because you got to get it into your freshwater fill. So fill your freshwater tank until it's full and you start to see water coming out of it. Once you have your bleach water in your freshwater tank or tanks, make sure you turn on your water pump and then open up all of your faucets. Hot water, cold water, you want everything to run through. That'll sanitize all of your water lines. Toilet, you don't really need to flush because, yeah, I mean, you can, I usually do, but in any case, you want to make sure that the bleach water is run through everything, and you'll be able to smell it. Kind of smells like a pool, but not a really bleached pool. You'll smell it slightly. So once that's done, let it sit for at least 12 hours. I usually do it overnight. After the day is over, or after you've done 12 plus hours letting your bleach water sit in your system, come back before you turn anything on and drain your tanks. It's going to take a long time, several hours usually, because you're draining it through little tiny valves down here in your low point drain, or in our case drains, because we have two freshwater tanks. So drain it all out till it's empty, then close your low point drain, and then completely fill your freshwater tank with fresh water again. Now this is clean fresh water, so make sure you're using your RV water hose, and if you have a filter like I showed before, use that to fill your tanks, because now that it's sanitized, you want to make sure everything stays nice and clean and healthy. So fill your tank, then go back inside, turn on your pump, run all the faucets again, including the toilet, until you can't smell bleach anymore. And then once that's done, then you're finished. Your system is sanitized. Now you can turn off your water pump. Then you can hook your water line up to the city water and you're good to go.